Hello everyone, it's Seji and today I will be talking about the Incendiaries by Kwon. A huge thank you to Riverhead Books for gifting me this book. Before I start, I would just like to give a trigger warning because this book does contain a segment with sexual abuse, but it isn't explicit and neither will I be talking about it explicitly. Let's just jump into it. The Incendiaries is a story about two students called Will and Phoebe who meet each other in the first month at their university. Both of them have had their lives turned upside down and they're just trying to pick up the pieces. Phoebe and Will quickly start dating, but things go awry when Phoebe, who is guilt-ridden and grief-stricken, joins a religious group. This group turns out to be a full-blown cult, which at its pinnacle commits an act of terror which leads to the death of 5 people. In the story, Will tries to recount everything that led up to that eventual moment, in an effort to understand why Phoebe would join this group, since she said that he never tried to do so. I felt this to be a very intriguing book that kept me thinking about it for quite some time. It covers topics such as loss, grief, religion, and much more. Will at the start of the book has just cut ties with his religion, and it was very interesting how this book explored this loss of religion. You wonder, how does someone lose their faith after it being so strong for all their life? How does that process look like? For Will, it was a slow progression of questioning things and not being able to find the answer, eventually leading to him concluding that there weren't any. Phoebe once asked him how he lost his faith. "Do you mind if I ask you what made you stop believing?" "It was nothing special," I said. "The usual host of reasons." "Like what?" "Oh, the existence of multiple religions, children starving, the problem of evil. It's how people talk about going bankrupt, right? It's gradual, then it happens all at once." After trying to escape the fate that he left, Will is again confronted with it when Phoebe decides to join a religious cult called Seji. We meet the leader called John, who claimed to be an activist in China who helped North Korean refugees. He was captured by North Koreans and put in Gulag. It was there where he realized that the prisoners were brainwashed and absolutely worshipped their leader. And instead of being horrified, John was actually intrigued by that, and so Seji was formed. This was actually the first time that I read about a cult, and it was really scary to read about it. Throughout the book I was wondering, how could someone join a group like Seji and be so brainwashed that they're willing to commit an act of terror? It's so absurd to me, but there's so many cults that exist and have existed, which proves that it's actually possible. Together with Will, you try and make sense out of it, how Phoebe could have joined this group. Which is exactly what makes it so tricky, because in the book Phoebe isn't there to explain herself, which also has another consequence. There's a quote by Robert Evans that I kept coming back to when I was reading this book, and that was, "There are 3 sides to every story. My side, your side, and the truth. And no one is lying. Memories shared serve each differently." And that's exactly what makes things so tricky when you're reading from one perspective. The book at times does have segments that come directly from Phoebe, but those are also put into context by Will, which muddies the waters. All that became overtly clear to me when Will recounts the time that he sexually abused Phoebe. Throughout the book you build this sort of bias for Will. Phoebe gets portrayed as an extremely selfish, cold and mean person who constantly shuts Will out. And on the other side, Will gets portrayed as this young man who works so hard and who is trying to help Phoebe whilst he is also struggling with his own issues. At some point, Will forces himself sexually onto Phoebe, but it's written so subtle that I barely even registered it. It only truly sank in when at the end of the book, Will meets one of Phoebe's friends called Julian, who blames him for sending Phoebe over the edge because of that assault. I actually went back to that passage to read it again, and it was so scary to me to see how I just brushed over it the first time. It definitely made me reassess the feelings that I had towards Will. In general, the story was written in quite an elusive way, which I really wasn't used to, so I did struggle at times, but things definitely got better towards the end. Other than that, it was a very interesting read for me. That's all I have to say with regards to the Incendiaries. Please feel free to leave any thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.